Hey you guys, this is Courtney Camaro. I'm outside of Muhammad Ali's real original home. We're in Chicago, and I wanted to shout out Al's Botanics and Herbs. Man, when I tell you, I am one of those people that has insomnia. I can't sleep. I can't focus on some days because I'm so sleep deprived, and this has helped. This is one of the mixtures he has that helps with sleep.
What's going on today? I just thought I'd do some little some different things. I thought that I would do some esoteric talk. Reason being is I want to show you how in depth I am. I want to talk about metaphysical philosophies and thoughts, and this is just one of many videos that I'll do. Don't know when I'll do these, but it's just something that kind of was on my mind as far as I've talked about on a previous live stream about how a lot of the world revolves around men working in order to maintain or get a woman to continue on his life and legacy. And you got to understand that's important. That's all of us. That's billions of people on this earth. That is how this world works. So I'm going to be breaking this down today. You might get the gist of me, like, that I'm just maybe trying to placate women or trying to, now I'm taking on I'm taking on Minister Yada's, trying to take market share from him. No, this is something I was thinking about before the whole Yada situation and any other people that are making the rounds on the news. But anyway, I'm going to get right into this. I'm not going to waste any time. I'm just going to fire off some videos and then we're going to talk about it. You're going to learn a lot tonight. This is going to be a very good video. I already know. I actually had to do some research for this. I'm on my big boy desktop with all my files, all my data. So let's get right into it. Let's go ahead and let's play some videos.
Aspasia teaches Socrates. Oh, that got left out of your stories, didn't it? Socrates' teacher.
Let's play this back here. Okay, let's go.
Teaches Socrates. Oh, that got left out of your stories, didn't it? Socrates' teacher was a woman named Aspasia. The reason why that got left out of your history is because once we became Christian, we didn't like the idea that women were teachers and leaders, and so there was a systematic attempt to delete all the women leaders and all the women philosophers from the history textbooks.
So that was something that I learned today. I didn't know that, and I went to university to be a sociologist, basically, to get a degree in sociology. So I had to do, so many papers around Plato and Socrates and everything. Not one of those lectures, not one of my professors told me that Socrates, even though I don't, necessarily like Socrates because of what his lifestyle at that time. If Socrates was alive, he would be under a jail cell. If not, probably under a firing squad. But his teacher was a woman. In that video, that was who taught Socrates. But that's just kind of interesting. It's just kind of in my research, that was a video that caught my eye. I just wanted to share that. Let me go further.
The universality of things we study should study the universality of mind as mother-father, male and female principle of mind. Everything has gender. That's why the Kybalion is so important a book to have, because it explains those 7 universal laws that are not going to change, that you keep using, because that's the way mind works. That's the way nature is. And to understand the functioning of nature and the nature of mind is to understand the nature of things, and the nature, most importantly, of self and other human beings. You know, we'll be less affected by the concept of homophobia if we realize we're all male and female in principle. Okay? And if we understand chemistry, we know that chemistry operates sexuality. You know, if you've got too much female hormone in your brain, you're going to behave with a feminine personality. If you've got too much male hormone in your brain, even if it's a female, she's going to behave with a masculine personality. That's nature. At its lowest level of expression, of course, on the sexual level, the divine beings of such an ancient period of time who were androgynous were of male and female nature. That was their matured nature. The divine beings that express during this cycle, who are of the Grand Master level, have both a male and a female personality. That's nature, okay? It has nothing to do with gay, hetero, you know, you start talking that, you're talking here. When you start talking about love and wisdom, you're talking up here. Love and wisdom, male and female principles. Okay.
Yeah, so you probably never heard this. This concept of women are money, you probably, like, you know, I hate to say it, but pimps understand this. They might understand it on a carnal, physical level, but they obviously understand that women bring money. But what if I told you, you know, like, my knowledge is high. My knowledge of women is very profound. Okay, it's beyond a pimp. Okay, to say that my knowledge is on a pimp level is disrespectful to me, because I know way more than mostly what a pimp would know. But on a basis of understanding, pimps would probably understand what I'm talking about. Just on a basic level, on a physical, sexual value level, which I'm going to talk about a little bit, but they understand that women, probably a pimp would understand this discussion that I'm going to be talking about, like, more than probably anybody, because they understand. A pimp understands the value of a woman. Now, why am I passionate about this? My passion is, for example, little old not rich me, or let's just say little old poor me, was just doing DoorDash, right? You know, I went to the door. It was like somewhere in the hood, you know. It was in the hood in Chicago, the South Side. And this woman, you know, young woman, probably in her late 20s, came to the door. And she came to the door with her bra, and maybe some boy shorts. If you know what those are, if you probably north of 60, you probably don't understand what boy shorts is, but you know, it's basically female underwear. Now, she saw that I was an older man, you know, someone that's probably old enough to be her father. She went to go get like some sheets, you know, because yeah, some women do try to show off when, you know, to the delivery man. That's older than me. Okay, that's old. But one of the things that shocked me was, well, if you are from the Chicagoland, if you're from Chicago, you know the area of, let's just say 78th in South Shore area. I'll just give that area. You know that area is kind of rough. And the thought that I had was, what is this woman doing in this area? That was the immediate thought that I had. And the reason I thought that is obviously is because one of the things that women don't know how to do, and this is where the pimp conversation comes in, is that women don't really know how to market themselves. One, and that's kind of somewhat why I'm doing this video, but not more or less. The second of what I'm going to say is why more or less that I'm doing this video is that women don't really understand the value of who they are. Women really just don't understand. They don't really get it. Some women might have a goddess complex or a god complex, but that's not necessarily what I'm talking about as far as value. I'm just saying, as far as one, that woman that I saw is definitely, very, very, very valuable. Okay. The reason where she is and everything like that is, everybody has their own story, but I can almost guarantee that woman does not know how to truly market herself. Women are doing it now, as far as they're trying to coach women on how to improve themselves and all of that. And, but at the very core of women, they really don't know how valuable they actually are. In a sense of, they can actually receive, because women are more like water. Water takes on whatever. If you throw anything in water, water will absorb it. That is how women are. And, basically, a woman that really understands, or even overstands that, she understands that she can get maximum value or maximum return from her value. A lot of women don't know how to get said maximum value from basically to as a return, as far as receiving that value from, obviously men, but mainly even society. Okay. But let me get something else for you. Just a second. I was in the middle of something, but yeah, when I saw this woman, it just really, it was like, I was already going to do a video. I was going to already do this video, but when I saw that woman, I mean, she wasn't like a dime piece or anything like that, but she basically had like a body like a stripper, and she had she was like probably a 6 in the face. She's a adjustable 7, and basically, she's basically a California 5. The reason being is California is the mecca of models, actresses, singers, entertainment. It has California, LA primarily has some of the finest women in the world. You know what I'm saying? Like, so their trajectory as far as their beauty is higher than most places. And actually, a lot of women actually travel to LA to become an actress or some type of, to make it in entertainment. That's an old it's an old thing that people do, is go to LA and try to chase stardom, or try to become a star. That's something old. I remember a older white woman told me when I was younger, when I was in college, going down to University of Illinois in Champaign. I didn't go there. I went to a junior college down there called Parkland College, but this woman told me that I should go to LA. You know, I'm wasting my time. And here's the thing, right? That woman saw the same thing in me as I saw in that woman that I was, you know, delivering her DoorDash. She saw that this young, you know, very slim, athletic looking, tall black man. She said basically I could be like the next Will Smith, minus the, rainbow shit. But she said that's what she said. And I believed her, but at the time, I think if I would have went to LA, if I would have followed what she said, I think I would have probably got swallowed up by LA. LA probably would have swallowed me up and spit me out, because I don't think I was ready for LA at that time. But she saw a value in me that I didn't even see for myself. That's the whole point, but the thing is that I can also see women undervaluing themselves. It's a day-to-day, it's a daily basis. I see that every day. But the whole point is, basically this conversation is about how women are money. And I'm gonna, I got some legends. I'm this guy here, this is C.L. Freeman, C brother C Freeman L. He is a very highly regarded. He's gone. He's an ancestor now, but he is one of the he's a very well known esoteric speaker. Talks about esoteric talk as well as metaphysics and different things related to higher consciousness, higher being, certain things like that. So, he's pretty well known. It's another guy. He's out of Chicago. His name is Dr. Delbert Blair, and this guy is actually a scientist. He's with the ancestors as well. But he's another heavy hitter that basically is no longer here. Basically everybody that I'm probably going to play the video have already played. They're no longer here. They're no longer here. So let me, use my tools and everything and get this video going. So. But as I was saying, basically, women are water. They receive. They are on this earth to receive, borrow, or steal, or connive, or manipulate, and basically receive abundance. Okay, because nature does provide, and women receive provisions primarily from men, but they can also receive things in business and obviously through work work, and so on and so forth. Okay. They valuable thing that you can extract from a woman is healthy offspring of your own lineage. That is the most valuable thing. Woman, you receive a woman, you give a woman sperm, she gives you a child, she gives you a baby. Okay, she gives you a carbon copy of yourself. She continues, she gives you women give you the gift of immortality. Women give the ultimate gift of immortality. And you can say with what I'm saying, you can almost, you can see why women have been deified, or they're looked at as deities, to the point because women offer from a man's seed, they birth immortality. Okay, so that's another thing to also think about. You probably never heard a lot of these things that you're going to hear, probably never heard of it. Your brain is going to be working tonight for sure. Okay, this is Dr. Delbert Blair.
In 1975, they connected a vibrational detecting device to an unfertilized egg, and they got a rhythmic pulsing beat just like that of a human heart or pulse. What is generally an unfertilized egg? Somebody kind of share with me quickly from the audience. What's the difference between an unfertilized egg and a fertilized egg? Okay. Well, in 1975, they connected a vibrational detecting device.
Hold on. Let's see here. Hold on. Got some technical difficulties. This is what I'm gonna do. I'm just stop this here. I'm gonna stop this. And then I'm just gonna share it directly. Share my screen right here.
Well, in 1975, they connected a vibrational detecting device to an unfertilized egg, and they got a rhythmic pulsing beat just like that of a human heart or pulse. What is generally an unfertilized egg? Why, they kind of share with me quickly from the audience? What's the difference between an unfertilized egg and a fertilized egg? Chicken didn't mate, no males around. Yet they have detected, and that experiment has been tried and tried again, some kind of rhythm or pulse within that egg. Okay. Well, in 1975, they connected a vibrational.
Okay, so that is a short video. Okay. Let me see here. So I got the full video here. The full video. But you know what? I'm gonna let that go. Let me see here. Stop this here. Hold on. Let me go to here. Let's see here. But that's something he's saying, though, that they got a pulse from an unfertilized eggs, from of unfertilized egg, they got a pulse from that unfertilized egg. That's kind of very interesting right there. That they actually got a pulse from an unfertilized egg. So let me see here because I did play that whole video. Let me see here. Let me see here if I can. Let me see here if I can find the section of where he was talking about the unfertilized egg here. Let me see here. Egg. All right. All right. Okay. Okay, it's right here. All right. So let's play this here. Share this. Okay. There we go.
Menstruation is not a cleansing process. It is only the result of the deterioration of the egg, unfertilized, and that men have perpetuated a myth that women collectively have bought. And I can at least begin to forgive some African Kemetic women because they didn't have too much of a choice. In their old habitats, in their old lands, many of them, as I say, were taught better. I'm going to now talk to you as adults, if I already haven't, and I hope again you will accept these things with an adult mind, and then on the Q&A, jump me. I'm sorry, talk to me. Question me if you will. The white is a street slang for a term called leukorrhea. It is an issue, a secretion from the vaginal area which women sometimes suffer from. If the womb becomes catarrhal, has mucus, has a cold, the white is one of the results. The inflammation of the uterine lining produces, in many cases, menstruation, and many things can cause that, as we shall talk about. The fluids lost in leukorrhea, or colloquial, on the street, the whites, are important vital substances. Lipoids, alkaline lactates, natural sodium, potassium, calcium, plus brain and nerve foods in the form of lecithin. In fact, the mucous corpuscles present in leukorrhea are presently hemoglobin capable. What do I mean by that? It means that they are capable of forming human blood-carrying, oxygenating corpuscles. So not only does a woman then suffer the menses, but if she also has leukorrhea, she is constantly losing the ability to build life-giving blood cells, which anyone knows without that, the body does what? Deteriorates. Some women are on a constant menses. And then you wonder why some women are very irritable, very agitative, anemic. They get dizzy and have migraine headaches and jump at the sound of a firecracker 20 miles away, which they think they can hear. If anyone suffered that kind of loss from puberty till death, I wonder again why women are not half crazy. There are some men and other women that say they are. I didn't say it. I say, faced with that loss, we could have a problem. I state that if the menses was cessated, if it stopped, if the blood loss and even the alkaline lactate loss was ceased and stopped, then not only would women be very strong, and they wouldn't be intuitive, they would be psychic, but they also could give birth to babies without a man being anywhere around. And there is the key to your problem and your problematic solution. You've bought into the coats lie, the white coats lie, the medical doctor's lie, which came about under a patriarchal system. If you start understanding the cadavers that were messed with in England and France at the turn of the 17th, 18th century, and experimentation still goes on. In fact, they, by law, are given under the caduceus the right to practice. And the practice is upon, in many cases, you as females. There was a theory called the Ovis theory, spelled O-V-I-S-T, pronounced Ah. It was proven, not postulated, I repeat, proven by Professor Jacques Loeb of Stanford University, that the embryo develops from the egg alone and does not require spermatozoon. Did you hear what I just stated? According to Professor Loeb, you can make a developing embryo to become mitigated and go into first, second, and third trimesters of birth without the need of the male sperm, under certain circumstances. The prevailing medical theory is one of epigenesis, and it says, again, that you must have the union of sperm and egg in order to produce and in order to get pregnant. Maybe. To start this and give it practicality, we have to go back to a basic concept that some people still are not sure about. I state that women had to have been created before men, or formed before man, because you cannot get a man from a man, you cannot get a woman from a man, but you can get a man from a woman, and you can get a woman from a woman, and think about that. Any problem with that statement, that compound complex sentence? I don't have one. This is what the old church, the Church of England, and under King Constantine and the Bishop Eusebius, the Church of Rome, had to get rid of and had to change. The last honesty amongst Caucasian principalities dealing with Christianity, and especially Catholicism, came with the onset of the Greeks, who broke away into the Greek Orthodox Church because they got tired of the lies that were being formed and wanted to continue with some semblance of truth from the Greek society, the last time when the Caucasians told truth. The male cannot reproduce himself, the female can. What does that mean if carried to the furthest extent? It means that if the woman also could decide whether she was going to produce a male or a female, the race of man could cease to exist, as we now understand it, as a double gender. That, at one time on Earth, was a tremendous problem. The universal cosmic egg theorem is that a cosmic egg was created, and from that generated everything, and that in the egg still is the semblance of first creation. Things start from an egg, whether it be a hard shell finish or a little ovum attached to the uterine wall. Which came first, the chicken or the egg? Take a little guess on that. I want to have a little fun here again. How many say that the chicken came first? May I see your hand? Just say the chicken hand first, just raise your hand. Only 3, 4 people. How many say that the egg came first? 1, 2, 3, 4, about 6 people. How many aren't going to get on a limb and commit either way? You're just going to listen to the lecture. Okay. Well, In 1975, they connected a vibrational detecting device to an unfertilized egg, and they got a rhythmic pulsing beat just like that of a human heart or pulse. What is generally an unfertilized egg? Why, they kind of share with me quickly from the audience? What's the difference between an unfertilized egg and a fertilized egg? Chicken didn't mate, no males around. Yet they have detected, and that experiment has been tried and tried again, some kind of rhythm or pulse within that egg itself. They also found in vertebrates, those that have a central vertebral column again, a spine, if you would, that on the phases and oscillations of the moon, that pulse varied, but was always even more intense. We understand that humans are the dominant species on this planet Earth. We are the masters, we are the greatest, and everything else is beneath us, right? Right. Right, yeah, right. The acorn, which has a seed, a phylum of vegetable and plant, contains everything in it that the seed needs to become a mighty oak, including a print on its phloem showing what it's going to look out when it matures, what it's going to look like. Isn't that interesting? Ever cut an acorn in part and looked at it? I mean, some of these mutated acorns now that have been gassed and pre-picked, you can't tell anything from. But get the real seed of a pure-born acorn, and what do you have when you cut it in half? Picture of a tree. I mean, that's somebody really blueprinted that one. They already said, this is what you're going to look like when you grow up. And that's just on a little acorn.
So that was very interesting. So that was Dr. Delbert, the late great Dr. Delbert Blair. He's actually in the Chicagoland area. He's a native of Chicago. He passed away in, I believe, 2016. I think everybody that I'm going to be playing a video from is no longer of the living, is in basically the realm of the dead. Okay, so let me play another one. This guy is pretty good here. Not sure if this guy's, I'm terrible with names, so it took me a while to actually search for this guy. I had got him mixed up with Bill Cooper. Okay, this Jordan Maxwell, he even passed away in 2022. Okay, so this is the next video that I'm going to be playing, and this guy is a legend. You probably heard, if you in any conscious spaces, you heard of this guy before. This guy is literally, this is where I learned this concept of women being associated with money. This guy here, this white guy, is very, very intellectual, philosophical guy here, Jordan Maxwell, is where I learned this from. Okay, it's pretty much what I was looking for. It took me about 15 to 20 minutes to find this video, but I found it, and I found the exact point of where I wanted to talk about, where I learned from what his lessons. This is over 20 years ago at this point. I've learned, or close to 20 years, I learned this concept. So let me full screen this. Let's get right into it. I got it right ready to play here.
It was a cover story. Well, the actual story was that the Knights Templars were 9 Catholic Masonic Order Freemasons who were putting together for the Vatican a whole new superstructure of money and banking and government, and the entire operation was under the Vatican control, and there were 9 men who were in charge of that project of rebuilding a new order in Europe. And so that's why the eagle has the 9 tail feathers. And most of the members of secret societies know that. If you bring this up, they'll tell you, yeah, well, there was no 9 men who protected the pilgrims. No 9 men could do that. The eagle has always been the symbol for the sun. Why? Because it has an eagle eye. It can see everything, and it's high up. The ancient peoples they saw their eyes were perfectly round, and then they look at the sky and see the sun is perfectly round. And then in their mind, the sun represented light, which light means intellectual, spiritual intelligence. You're enlightened instead of being ignorant and ill-informed and in the dark. And so they figured that God must be very bright. He's very brilliant. And so if you follow God, the sun, you're his pupil. And so that's why today we have a pupil in the eye, because the sun is round. And we are his pupil. We're following him. I remember reading back in the 60s that the dimensions of the dollar bill were based on the old Arabic dimensions of a magic carpet. They said that this was like a magic carpet. It is. You got enough of them, you can go anywhere. Lots of interesting things about the American dollar bill and our actual real history of where we've come from. Today, we're going to talk about corporations. The United States of America no longer exists. And the reason why it doesn't exist, we are now a corporation. We're not a country. And the reason why is because many years ago, there was something happened here called the Civil War. And the Civil War, we're told, was one of the bloodiest wars humans have ever fought on the earth. It was a very bloody war. And so after it was over, it was understood that we are now, after the war, many things, but united was not one of them. One half of the country was killing the other half. And there's a lot of bad feelings among the Americans back and forth between North and South. Well, it was decided, all right, then let's do this. Let's have a United States corporation. We'll start a company, and we'll call it the United States Corporation. It'll be a privately run municipal corporation, and we'll call it the United States Corporation. So therefore, everyone who is here will become an employee of the corporation. If you're working for this corporation, when you're on duty, you always usually have some sort of an identification tag showing that you're an employee of the company. As long as you are working and you're making money, then you are contributing to the company, the corporation. You're on the company time, so to speak. And so you are making money, and therefore you're paying out bills and paying out taxes and fines and fees and all of that. And so you are securing the corporation. They need the money. And so you're giving them the money. You're making the money and giving it to them. So you are a security. Water is the basis for our economics, period, on the earth. Because in the ancient world, going far back as the earliest times of the Roman Empire, the powers that be in the world then realized that they started to build their economic system in the Roman Empire based on the Phoenician Canaanite system of commerce in the Middle East, because they knew how to make money and they knew how to control money. So the ancient Romans understood and finally figured out that there should be 2 laws on the earth. The earth is 2 things. The earth is water and land. So there should be a law for the water and a law for the land. So today we even have terms that say, well, that's the law of the land. Why do you distinguish it law of the land? Because there's another law called the law of the sea or the law of water. So the law of the land is the laws that govern the culture of people on a particular spot of land. And so when you go to another country, you should be aware that there's a law of the land, which means there's a custom. You have to get used to the way people live and the way they do things. There's another law that supersedes that law, which is far more important. It's called the law of the sea. And the law of the sea is the law of water. And the law of water is simply banking, banks. Banks are all over the world. All banks operate the same. They operate on water. And so the bottom line is that your commerce is based on water. All ships, airships, rocket ships, sailing ships, I don't care what it is. If it's a ship, it's always referred to as a female. It's always she. The captains of any ship will tell you, oh, she's a good ship and she's seaworthy and oh, she's this and she's that. What do you mean she? The reason why captains call their ships she is because she delivers the product. And the product is usually based on water. And when her water breaks, there's a product. And the product was caused by the male manufacturing.
Message.
So he has manufactured and she is in labor building the product. And so the product is based on water because when her water broke, the product comes out. If you're going to get married, you have to have a license because getting married, according to our laws today under the corporation, if you were getting married, you are an employee whose first duty is to the corporation. And so therefore you need to work and pay your bills and pay your taxes and everything because you're a security for the body social. The body social means the whole company. When you retire, which means you're going to bed, you're going to sleep, or you're going to quit, you're going to retire, you get Social Security. No, you are the security for the body social. And so they're going to give you a few dollars to live on, keep you alive, because if they don't, you're going to get all very upset. You don't have any money to live on, and they're going to cause more trouble. Give him something to live on and get him out of here, right?
I saw that today. So, on the south side, the west side of Chicago, all throughout the Chicagoland area, primarily, just different parts, but mainly on the south side, and I see this, every day. I saw an old man just sitting by the fence, and he kind of looked like he was homeless. And what I did was I was thinking, and this is just kind of a reminder for the youth, for the young people. You have to work and build momentum while you're young, while you have energy, while you're more energetic. So when you get older, that momentum carries you in your older age. When you don't do that, when you live long enough to get to that older age, you won't have any momentum to live off of. That's why it's important to go as hard and as fast as you possibly can go, humanly possible, and build up momentum for you, not only you and your family, but yourself when you get older, so you can have some momentum to carry you in older age. Very important. Very, very important.
When a ship pulls into port, because I said all of our commerce is done by water, our biggest business is shipping all over the world, shipping. When a ship pulls into harbor, it parks at its what we call its berth. It's a berth where they're berthing the ship, berth. And so any item that was on that ship represents money. Therefore, every time a television or a car or anything, whatever that item is that's being brought here from another country, it's coming in on a ship, and she is bringing in the product, right? She. When the ship parks, it's sitting in its berth. And therefore, every single item coming off of that ship has to have its own certificate of manifest. Why? Because yesterday the ship wasn't here. But this morning you come to work and there's a ship here with $800 million worth of Toyotas. So it's manifested. So you have to have a manifest. And it's called a certificate of manifest, which goes with each one of those products. And on that manifest, it tells you, is it a 4-door? Is it 2 doors? Does it have air conditioning? What nationality is it? How much does the baby weigh? What color eyes does he have? And, and does he have 5 fingers? And is he African or what? Does he have air conditioning? So you are simply a product because you are a product that has to have its own certificate of birth. So therefore you have today something called a birth certificate. And it has to be signed by the dock because that's where the ship is sitting, is at the dock. And if you happen by chance to have one of the cars or one of the TVs drop off in the ocean, that's okay. There are insurances that cover that, but you have to have a death certificate. Why? Because you're not just going to lose a car and the bank is not going to make money on that. You lost a car? Yeah, well, you better go find it. And if you can't find it, then you need to go through the regulations and sign a death certificate. And that's why, as I said, that's why you have to have a license, because this is a corporation. And used to, when we were a republic, you could wear a gun anytime you wanted, and you could go into town and go in the bar, and if you have a falling out with a guy in the bar, you can either settle it like gentlemen, or you can go out in the street and duel. And one of you is not going home tonight, see? Why? Because it was a free country. And individuals, men and women and children, when this country was founded, was said to be, and it was understood that you are a sovereign in this country. That's why you could wear a gun anytime you wanted. Cowboys wear guns, and then people even in the eastern states will wear guns. Why? Because you are a sovereign under international law. Anyone born in the United States of America was a sovereign, which means you're a king or a queen. And so the man was king of his realm, king of his home. And women were the queens. A king and a queen have the privilege of declaring war on any time they please, on anyone they please. That's one of the nice things about being a king. You don't need to ask anybody permission. You want to go out and pick a fight? Well, you better have a gun with you. It doesn't mean you're going to win. It doesn't mean you're smart for doing that. It just means you're armed and you're going to face another guy and he's armed. So you better figure out if you can do this or not, right? Now we understand that your body is like 78% water. And when you come out of your mother, her water broke. So therefore, everything we do in commerce is based on water. And that being the case, it's based on shipping. The idea is don't rock the boat when you're at work. Don't rock the boat. We run a tight ship here. We don't want to rock the boat. And so are you with us, mate? Yeah, come aboard on the citizenship. And so now you got the dealership and sportsmanship and citizenship and all the different kind of words that end in ship. Why do you have banks? Where do you find banks? Banks are on both sides of a river. They're called river banks. What does a river bank do? It directs the flow of the currency. Money runs through your hands like water. No, money is water. That's when you put it into a bank, it's called currency, because it's a current. It's an ebb and flow. Comes in and goes out, and comes in and goes out. It's a flow of money, and then money is water. Money is a cash flow, a liquid asset. There's a reason why everything works the way it does. In a corporation, let's say you work for General Electric or Ford Motor Company. General Electric cannot make law like stamped in stone. Whatever General Electric does, they don't have the power to create law. But they do have the power as a corporation to make their policy. And so they will tell you, look, it's just our policy. There's no damn law. There's no law that says it. But our policy is for you to show up at 7 o'clock in the morning. That's just our policy. And our policy says that you take off at 11:30 for lunch and you go home at 4 o'clock. That's just our policy. It's not written in stone in God's law. It's just our policy. So today, you ask any politician, what kind of law do we have in this country today? And they would tell you it's called public policy. It's a policy. It's not law. Who came up with that policy? Well, we have policy makers. Oh, really? Policy makers. Oh, okay. Yeah, they're lawmakers. They're the lawmakers. They make the policy. They don't make law. They make a policy. And it's just our policy that you do this and you do that, and you go 65 on the highway, and you do this, you park there, and you make, and these are all just our policy.
I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit here. Okay. Okay.
It's because the Federal Reserve is today the pirates of the Caribbean. When you begin to see that this is the whole setup in the Federal Reserve and the Internal Revenue, it's just piracy. It's just the pirates of the Caribbean, and that's where they started. So what was the symbol for the pirates of the Caribbean? Well, their flag was a black flag with a skull and crossbones. And it was referred to as the Jolly Roger. Well, today, the skull and crossbones are a very important symbol used in World Freemasonry. It's used on toxic and poisonous medicines and things. Skull and crossbones basically meant death. Well, that's what piracy in the Caribbean was like. It was a very dangerous and deadly game where they were stealing on the high seas. And so when you're stealing something on the high seas, then you have to deal with an admiral, which gives us our word admiralty law. Admiralty law is the law of the high seas. England, in order to travel the world and do what they did to build their great empire, were great seafaring peoples. Their navies were next to none. And so this is where the idea that even in England today, they have such a thing as an admiralty. And so it gives birth to an admiralty law, which means it's giving birth to a law based on water. Why? Because England was the masters of the seas after the Spanish. And so today, it's just interesting that the Federal Reserve and the Internal Revenue are corporate headquarters in the Caribbean. As it still is today, ships will carry their own flag so that anyone else on the sea will see that ship with that flag and understand who owns it and who's controlling that ship. Well, they developed an idea a long time ago among the pirates to fool their victims, and they would put up a flag of a country that was friendly with, I guess, the other ships coming, and so the other ships would not think anything about it until they got close enough to attack them. Then they would send up their Jolly Roger flag, the flag that represents the pirates. Then the people on the other ship know they're so close now. They thought it was a friendly ship. Now they find out it's a pirate ship. And so that's where we get the concept today of a false flag. And my goodness, there are false flags everywhere in the world that we live today. So many people think that if you trust some country or trust somebody to do something for you and he's a friend, and then one day you find out they're not your friend. They've never been your friend. Then we see the idea of a false flag. They were putting up their false colors. We even say that kind of thing today.
Man, where do you see that so much, man? You see that on social media. You know, you can have the greatest thing that ever happened to you in your life, and you post it on social media, and nobody likes it. Hardly people that you know for years, and people that you grew up with. Hardly like your true and few will like it, but like almost a whole bunch of people. You could just count the likes, and people seeing it and everything else say nothing because they don't like you. And I mean, social media has birthed this world where you accept friendships with people that don't even like you. And it's weird. It's very weird to me. It really was. It's still like I'm not bothered by it now, but I do still think about it. But it's so weird and strange to me to the point where I know I'm not the only one have thought about just not being on social media, especially Facebook, because Facebook is more personal. Like my Twitter, I don't know that many people on Twitter. Twitter is just like an open platform. Everybody is public, right? You can privatize your page, but like Facebook is people that you went to school with, people that you work with, people that you know, people that you grew up with. Some people that you might have met on social media, just only you never met them. But like the fakeness of these people, it's just so tripped out. Now, I will admit, me being more introverted, I'm not very social, so I'm not in these people's lives anymore. In the sense of I don't go where they go. I haven't seen them, a lot of them, I haven't seen them in like 20 years or more. But it's still to this day, like it's funny how you could like their posts, but they won't like none of yours, and that's not equitable. And you can go in and start deleting people, but it comes to the point where it's so many people, it's like you'd have to you'd have no friends hardly left. Like and that's where the thought was to just get off of social media entirely and just don't support all of that fakery, that fake friendship or fake associates and all of that. It's just people just so fake on social media. It's just so crazy. Then you find out they're just really fake in real life, really, to be honest. But that's a whole nother story.
Wow, I didn't, I was with so-and-so last night. He showed his true colors. True colors? What do you mean? A false flag? Yeah, because he's always been nice. He's always been courteous. And last night he was horrible. So now he's showing his true colors. So that tells me he's been putting up a false flag all this time. Now we know who he really is or how he really thinks. I would say, first of all, it's not federal and it's not a reserve because it isn't, there has no reserves. They just print money. And they don't really print money. They print what they call a Federal Reserve note. And it says on the Federal Reserve note, it says this note is legal tender for privates, public and private. And then it used to also say that you could take this to the bank and turn it in for real money. That's what it said on the bills. 50 to 100 years ago, it was saying on the bill, you can take this to the bank and turn it in for real money. So right off the bat, they're telling you this is not money. It represents money, but it's not money. And so you don't have to go around with gold coins buying everything. Just take the dollar bills that represents the gold coin. But the problem is the government and the founding of this country, the Constitution doesn't say that it's all right to have paper that represents money. No, money is gold and silver, period. End of the day, that's it. It's either silver or gold or it's not money. And so if you're going to print paper and incidentally, in California, the 1848 California Constitution, there's two of them, 1848, and I think the other was 1869. But the 1848 original Constitution of California expressly says, no banking can be done within the state of California. California will not allow any banks to exist in the state of California, period. You can have private corporations who will deal within themselves, but no bank can operate within the state of California. Then later on, they had a civil war, and after the Civil War, well, things changed a little bit. So now you can have a bank in California. So many of our wars are actually economic. The Federal Reserve, I think it was established back in 1913. The way it was established was that the bankers in America, who were not actually American, they were living in America, but they were actually British-backed bankers, J.P. Morgan, bankers like that, who actually came from Europe and from England, they got together and they decided to put together a trick and to see if it would work. And so they got together on a private island off of the coast of Georgia. And I'm not an authority on this, but it's well known that these men met on this island called Jekyll Island. Why would it be called Jekyll, like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde? Is because these bankers were not interested in protecting America. They were interested in buying off everything in America for their British masters. And so they came up with an idea that we will produce paper money, which represents money. And if we can get that across through the Congress and the Senate agrees to that, then we will also add a little something we forgot to tell you. It is called fractional banking. Fractional banking means every dollar we publish that we give to you, that dollar can make us, you can multiply it by 10, by 9 or 10. So when somebody puts $1 into the bank for on deposit, the bank can then say that deposit was $10. Well, if you put in 100, the bank can say on their records that you put 1,000 in. But if you put $1 million in, the bank now says that you put $10 million in. And that's how America has become so powerful around the world. Because no matter how much money no matter how many Federal Reserve notes we have, there may be millions in the bank, but you can multiply it by 10. And so therefore, oh my goodness, then you can multiply that later by 10. And now you've got a country that has a massive amount of money. If you put, say, $10 in the bank is allowed to loan out to other people 100, because they can multiply anything that comes into their bank, they can multiply it by 10. It's called fractional banking. It's pretty well known that there is an organization in the world today called the Round Table Group, and our idea of this round table group is a round table of the big bankers, the big shots that run the British Empire. And they come together and they sit at a round table. Why they are required to sit at a round table, because the idea is not one of them is the boss of bosses. It's a group, and they're all equal around the table, but they're all bankers, and they're all working for the same cause. And so ultimately, people don't realize that all around the world, especially in America, you're buying things and purchasing things. And so in 1902, these bankers, these London bankers, they met in 1902, and the idea was that they were going to slowly but surely infiltrate into the United States' business and ultimately get the United States of America into debt, and so that they will ultimately be able to own the United States of America.
The shit's chess, it ain't checkers.
So there you have it. Now, I was trying to get him, get one of his lectures to talk about the moon cycle. The moon cycle. And, basically to put it in short, the moon cycle is what drives commerce. Okay. What drives commerce is the moon. The moon drives commerce. Reason being is those ships. Like I like ordering stuff off Temu. If I need something, I'll just go to Temu. And depending on what it is, it's coming from China and it's coming from sea freight. Okay. And the moon basically draws current on the earth in the oceans. The oceans react to the moon in the moon cycle, and it creates waves. Those waves draw those ships to land. And the reason why it's called money is from moon, from moony, from money, which is moony. That's where the word money comes from. Because you got to understand, just like all of the commerce that you can think of as far as global trade comes from the ocean or planes. But primarily, even still to this day, oceans. And it's oceans run off the moon cycle. Okay. So this guy, he's done lectures for decades. That the lecture that basically his name is Jordan Maxwell. So you could just you could look up, you can just get lost in he has many lectures on YouTube and on all social media platforms. And basically let me see here if he got I think I might have found something. And he, talks about Saturn and the moon and everything. Let me see here. Let me see if there's something juicy in here that I wanna see here. Okay. Let's see here else. That's what he's talking about. Yeah, I mean, to be able to reach video transcripts is very, very good. Because that way you don't have to waste your time playing the video. Let me see here. Really saved me a lot of time. Let's see here. Let's see here if he got let's see here. Okay. Let's see here. All right, let's play this here. Let's play this. This will probably be the last video here. Let's play this here.
About an ancient planet called Saturn. You get married before your god Saturn, so you wear a wedding ring. The Jewish people do not know about their beginnings in the lunar cult. Moses was a leader of a moon cult. Women were to listen to their god, so they were supposed to wear an ear ring. Saturn is today most important god in all the religions of the world. Judaism, Christianity, even though Christianity's main god is, of course, the sun, God's son, the light of the world. He is our risen Savior. But Saturn plays a very big part in Christianity. But it's very big today in Judaism. Judaism is based on the worship of Saturn. Today, Judaism is referred to as a Saturnalian religion. Judaism is worship of the planet Saturn. And Saturn was called El. In the ancient Phoenician Canaanite system, the word for Saturn was El. And there's another ancient system in the ancient Middle East. Saturn was called El, was one word, one term. And today, of course, we know that El in the Bible is God to the Hebrews. Well, look up the word El, and you will see El was the planet Saturn. And so today the Jews are worshiping the planet Saturn. And their other term that the Phoenician Canaanites used for the planet Saturn was a word they called Saturn Shabbat. Shabbath, Shabbat. Look it up in the dictionary. You will see Shabbat is a Phoenician language word for the planet Saturn. Saturn was called Shabbat. And therefore, if you're going to worship Saturn, it was called the Sabbath. The Sabbath was worshiping Shabbat. So today, when you hear the preachers telling you that remember to keep holy the Sabbath day, remember to keep holy the Sabbath. Sabbath is the worship of the planet Saturn. Go back and do some homework, and you will see that you are worshiping an ancient pagan god called Saturn from the Roman Empire. And therefore today the Jews count their holy days from sundown to sundown. And so they go to Temp El. El is Saturn. And so they go to Temp El, to the house of El, or to the house of Saturn on Saturn's day. This is why all Jews go to the temple on Saturn's day, Saturn day. Mm-hmm. So Judaism is nothing more than the worship of an ancient planet called Saturn. He was referred to as Lord of the Rings. Of course, Saturn was the Lord of the Rings. The ancient Hebrews were told, the old Jewish religion told the men, if they're getting married, you get married before your god Saturn. So you wear a wedding ring. Women were to listen to their god, so they were supposed to wear an ear ring, because the ring represented the planet Saturn, the Lord of the Rings. And the Jews are still making movies in Hollywood today called Lord of the Rings. And most people going to the movies, watching movies like Lord of the Rings, think it's all a wonderful and brilliant, beautiful, wonderful story for the kids. No, it's the story of the Jewish God, Yahweh, Saturn, El. They go to Temp El, go to the house of El on Saturn's day. So it's called the Sabbath. The Sabbath is Shabbat, the worship of the planet Saturn. And even in the Bible, it talks about how Israel worshiped the planet Saturn, and the star that was associated with the planet Saturn is called the Star of David.
Well,
If you go back and look at the Star of David, it will tell you it's a hexagram. The Star of David is a hexagram. You draw a line. What the ancient Babylonians would do is draw a circle on the ground and draw a triangle inside the circle, and then turn it around and draw another triangle the opposite way, and becomes a six-pointed star within a circle. That's today called the Star of Saturn. Look it up in the dictionary. A six-pointed star inside of a circle is a hexagram. It's called a hex. And this is why the Jews wear the hex around their neck. They wear the Star of David. They think it's the Star of David. No, it's not the Star of David. It's the Star of Saturn. Saturn is Shabbat. You worship him on Saturday at the Sabbath. The whole of Judaism today is the worship of Saturn, the planet Saturn, the god Saturn, and also going back, if you take it even further back, it's the worship of the sun. Everywhere in every synagogue on the earth, no matter what country you go to, every synagogue on the earth has its altar. If you go to a synagogue anywhere in the world, you will see on the altar the name of God, and it's always pictured within a sun. There's always a bright sun circle of the sun with the sun spokes, and then the name for God inside the sun is 4 letters, 4 Hebrew letters. And then the Jews would tell you that the name of their God is so holy and so sacred that we cannot use that word. You're taking it, if you use it at all, you're taking it in vain. You should never take the name of the Lord God in vain. Well, if you even take it, because you're a human, if you even call God by his name, you're taking his name in vain. So they have come up with another word, the word which means they're God, but there's a word that they can use, that you can use too. And so you're not going to offend God if you use it, because it's just another word for the God of the Hebrews. And it's always pictured inside of a sunburst on the altars of any temple. And the 4 letters inside the sun is referred to as tetragrammaton. And all Jews will know what a tetragrammaton is. It's the 4 letters that make up the name that was dreamt up for the God of the Hebrews. They don't use his name because it's too holy. But if you want to talk about God, you can use tetragrammaton. It has 4 Hebrew letters inside a circle of the sun. And so the word is tetragrammaton. Tetra is 4. The letter 4 is tetra. Gramma is a letter like A, B, C, D, E, and F. Those are gramma. So tetragramma is 4 letters. Well, that's what it is. That's 4 Hebrew letters inside the sun. Inside the sun. So it's a tetragrammaton. That's tetragrammaton is broken down to tetragrammaton. The Aton was the great sun god of Egypt. The Aton was the sun. So therefore, on all altars around the world in Judaism, you will see a star. You will see the sun with the sunburst with all these spokes around it. That's the crown of thorns. We're told about Jesus died with a crown of thorns. The crown of thorns is the sun rays, the sun spokes around the sun. And this is why Jesus will die with a crown of thorns, like the Statue of Liberty. It's a crown of thorns. It's representing the sun. And so the word for God today in Hebrew is tetragrammaton. Tetra, 4, gramma, letters, aton, sun god. The sun god's name is tetragrammaton. So just understand that if you're a Jew and you're Jewish, you're worshiping the planet, you're worshiping the sun, tetragrammaton, and then more recently, you are now also inculcating into that worship the worship of the planet Saturn, Saturnian. El is Saturn in the ancient language, and El is where you go to the temp El to worship the planet Saturn. the Lord of the Rings. Religious holidays are based on ancient texts, ancient stuff that's been around for thousands of years.
Yep. So that's pretty much it for that video. Um, so basically, as far as women being money, okay, um, being women being the receivers, okay, being even the source of water, right, birthing um, new life, so humanity can continue on. The science is trying to find ways to circumvent women with birthing chambers, birthing equipment. Um, what do they call that? Let's see. It was called the artificial womb. Like they're trying to come up with ways to basically birth children without women, but women are still the standard as far as birthing humanity. Without women, there's no humanity, okay? Because they birth humanity, okay? That's one of their intrinsic values. That's why they're called a womb man, okay? A woman is a womb man, okay? She's a man with a womb, okay? She's a man with womb, and that's why there's all of this LGBT talk and everything. A woman can be a man and all of that crap, but no, a woman, in order to be a woman, you have to have a womb. If you don't have a womb, you're therefore not a woman, because that's what makes you a woman, is that you have a womb, right? Now, that being said, also women have sexual value, okay? Youthful women are the most valuable women on the planet. Youthful women that are in their 20s and 30s are the most valuable women on earth, because they have the newest womb. It's all about the womb. If a woman has a youthful womb, she is the most valued. She has the most value because women birth humanity. Okay, so a young woman is one of the most valuable. The most valuable woman is a woman is untouched and is young, like 20, early 30s. That is the most valuable woman. A woman is untouched and has a healthy womb, a young, healthy womb. Okay, so that being said, there's a term called hypergamy, where women of a lower status try to mate upward to a man with higher status, and selecting the highest viable protector to maximize offspring survival odds for the children that will come from that relationship. Feminine value compounds sexual value through traits that convert mating into successful child rearing, emotional attunement, nurturing capacity, homemaking competence, and the ability to create secure attachment. These lower infant mortality, improve development outcomes, and free male energy for provisioning, and defense. Women have a soft power and an aesthetic presence. Like, women are even valuable. Let me repeat this as well. Let me slow this down. Women are also valuable non-sexually. Women have a non-sexual value as well. Okay. Women's non-sexual value is their grace, their femininity, their beauty, and their nurturing abilities. Okay. That is nothing to do with sex. Okay. It's an attractive. I mean, women are like, like, you ever notice why a lot of stores, retail stores have pretty good looking women? Because women can can be in a sense like art. They can just because they're they're in the presence, just being almost in a sense like a sculpture, a human sculpture. Like, it's pretty to look at. Other people like looking at it as well, right? Or looking at the woman, just basically, a woman don't even have to say anything. She could just be quiet, and she could just be in the presence of others, and people will exalt in her beauty. They will notice her beauty. Okay. Historically, and socially, women are used for political leverage, securing better alliances. A lot of wars were done like that, like back in the day, like back in when in the time, like ancient times, women were offered to enemy countries or kingdoms for marriage as a peace offering. As, here's my daughter, she's a princess, she will bear you healthy offspring and male heirs, and she is of value. You take this value and you become my ally, and if someone attacks you, my country will defend you. You have my daughter as your now queen. I will come to protect your kingdom now because you have my daughter as your bride. Okay, so this was done. Women were used as political leverage for securing alliances, also resources and protection. Okay, because basically a weaker kingdom, the king will offer his daughter, his princess, as a way to secure better alliances, gather resources for the much stronger and resourceful kingdom, and also get that said protection. And then that kingdom will also have alliances. So if someone came against that larger kingdom, they have a smaller kingdom that will come in, and other kingdoms most likely as well, to defend that kingdom. Okay, so that is what also women have been useful for in the past. In esoteric framing, this is the yin, polarity that completes and multiplies masculine output, which is the yang. The women are the yin, the men are the yang. Contrast with purely economic or status competition, feminine value is subordinate to male typical metrics, career status alone. The unique compounding effect on family formation weakens. So a lot of times when women do choose career, the family tends to have to suffer from that. But as relation to family, babies, and legacy, A woman's reproductive window is finite. Each high quality child is a high stakes investment that carries genes, values, skills, and cultural continuity forward. Quantity and quality both matter under different conditions. High morality environments favor more stable ones, favor fewer higher investment offspring. So, basically, it's like secular versus non-secular. Legacy is not abstract. Family lines, inheritance of property, status, reputation, and cultural transmission depend on successful mothering and stable pair bonds. So, what's going on right now in this country is this very concept is in shambles. The family legacy is shattering as we speak. As you could see with the latest trial for what's the lady that killed her 3 children? Lindsay Clancy, 36-year-old former nurse from Massachusetts, on trial for strangling her 3 young children in January 2023. So here's the deal. In America, they deal with women with kid gloves. And they just deal with people just differently. So in this country, because this trial has been going on for 3 years, I never even knew this woman even did this. It was something. Women have been killing their children. I mean, quite a few times throughout the year, and it makes the news. It's so many of them. I lose track of who did what. And I might have not even might have not even came on the news cycle. It might have not made national news. I'm not sure. But now it's made national news. And now women are kind of losing their value. They're losing their cultural representation, especially white women, because most of the women that are parading and applauding her plight, which is the lady in question that killed her 3 kids, Lindsay Clancy. Most of them are white, primarily, most likely. If you ask the women that identify with her, they're most likely will be card carrying or non-card carrying feminists, and a lot of white women were the progenitors and creators of feminism. Okay. And they basically in the media and the image of America, it's in tethers, because the world can see everything. The world can see all of the TikToks. They can see all of the videos. They can see dysfunction. And what they're seeing is, no doubt, dysfunction. They see the breakdown of America, the falling of America, literally through the woman, through these white women parading a woman that killed her 3 kids. And not only parading her, offering her a blood sacrifice compensation of $1 million or more dollars. Now, I haven't followed the funding. I don't know if if it's on GoFundMe. I don't know. It's other websites that offer donations for causes and people in need and things like that rival GoFundMe, that are more controversial than GoFundMe, because GoFundMe, usually anything that's controversial, I noticed that they will pull the donation page of any, controversial donation drive or whatever. So like I'm not sure what's going on with that, but yeah, she was basically giving she was given over $1 million. Okay. In other countries, like for example, I always go back to Saudi Arabia. Not that I enjoy or like Saudi Arabia, but Saudi Arabia, for example, this woman, she went 3 years and she's still alive. She's still fighting in the courts. In Saudi Arabia, this woman will be dead in 3 hours or less if she killed her 3 children. That's how they get down in Saudi Arabia and other countries as well. She would be dead in 3 hours. And any justification of post partum depression or anything will not be warranted. Her head will be rolling immediately after she basically did what she did, which is ultimately killed her 3 children. Okay, it just goes to show the difference between the American justice system and, let's just say, Saudi Arabia's justice system. Their justice is swift and brutal and justifiable. The United States is they basically coddle child murderers and also molesters and all kinds of rapists and in all kinds of walks of life. It's one of the negative things about this country. It gives murderers freedom. Murderers can harbor and murder in this country, whereas other countries will administer swift punishment for injustices. Now, again, this is one of the major downsides of, and it also leads to the instabilities in the relationships in this country on both men and women, because the family lines and the reputation and statuses and cultural transmission in this country is in tatters. It is, if it was a flag, it would be tattered and it would be half staff, because this country is this country's reputation, status, and cultural transmission from mothers and their stable pair bonds is in tatters. It's literally a society that is degrading as we speak. Now, reading further, women are money lands here. Just as money stores labor and enables future exchange, a woman's reproductive and relational capital stores the potential for dynasty. Mismanagement, high time preference, poor partner selection, or cultural messaging that treats fertility as optional or secondary is equivalent to burning capital. So women are valuing the fact that they can devalue themselves. Women are proud and happy that they can devalue themselves. Okay, that's just how we are. That's just that this experiment that happened long before I was born. These are the results. These are the after effects of that. Okay, so let me see anything further that needs to be stated that I think needs to be stated. Modern welfare states, contraception and career prioritization have altered incentives without repealing biology, producing later first births, lower total fertility in many developed populations, and rising rates of involuntary childlessness. Okay. Polarity and complementarity. Masculine energy generates and protects. Feminine energy gestates and multiplies. Treating the feminine primarily as an interchangeable labor or status competitor ignores the asymmetric biological load of pregnancy, lactation, and early childcare. These things are important. The masculine is important, the feminine is important. One is correspondent with the other. Without the masculine, the feminine suffers. Without the feminine, the masculine suffers. The yin and the yang. Time preference. A sacred scarcity. High value feminine capital is non-renewable on an individual timeline. Cultures that realize and protect their fertile window rather than treating it as an infinitely postponable occurrence tend to sustain themselves. So that's what you have in this country. A high value feminine woman is the youngest, the most beautiful, the most feminine, and the least touched woman is a high value woman. If I gave my opinion on what a high value woman was, that is it. It's different than men. Men are different than women. Women are different than men. That is what a lot of women in this modern sci-fi sexual revolution. The reason why I call it a sci-fi sexual revolution is because now it's morphing into some sci-fi type shit. Like, pretty soon probably there'll be male birth control. So the birth rates will plummet straight to hell. As soon as male birth control takes a hold and gets FDA approved, you will start to see all kinds of things. I did like a futuristic prophetic video about it years ago. Very, very interesting. But yeah, I mean, that's what a high value woman is. It has nothing to do with education, your degree, where you work, how much money you make. Those are more masculine or male value concepts. When it comes to women, untouched, youthful womb, young womb, healthy womb, beautiful, feminine qualities, and that involves how you look as a woman. If you're overweight and everything like that, that's going to take away from your beauty. Okay, your beauty is part of your capital of being a woman. Okay. Value is revealed in markets and outcomes, not declarations. Observe pairing patterns, divorce statistics by age and parity and fertility data rather than egalitarian slogans. Reality arbitrages ideology. Okay. Let's see what else here. Okay. Men optimize by building resources and selectivity. Women optimize by being realistic, timeline awareness, as a result to in regards to the finite fertility window, and prioritization of compatible long-term investment over short-term validation. Okay. And this is what women struggle with. Those two concepts women struggle with: long-term investment over short-term validation. For example, a lot of women choose short-term, flings and sexual experiences with men that they are attracted to, that are not good in the long term, and they end up suffering because basically they'll end up being a single mother with children because they chose basically their own short-term incentives over long-term incentives and their legacy as well, because women also have a legacy. Well, legacy is not just for men, it's for women as well. So them choosing basically a short-term relationship versus a long-term relationship, they end up struggling in the long run. Harder life, more masculine life. Because here's also the thing, and this is why you have a lot of butch or stud lesbian women, especially in the Black community. And the reason why you have a lot of these women is because the masculine offers basically a man, usually the father, offers a masculine covering that provide the woman to be able to be more feminine, more nurturing, more softer, because they have a male covering. They know me. Like, I'm gonna tell a story, and I've told this story before, and I saw this in real time. I saw this actually in my own personal life, because my mom and dad, they didn't always get along. My mom and dad broke up many times, and my dad would come back. I've seen in my own neighborhood in Dalton, Illinois, I've seen how weak women primarily, ideally, I'm talking about weak women that obviously doesn't understand their value as well. I've seen women get turned out. It was this family. They lived on this block called Maryland in Dalton. It was by a convenience store. And Dalton is like a really small town right outside of Chicago. It's a small suburb right outside of Chicago. And what I saw was a woman, a mother, she broke up with her husband, and she had a daughter and she had a son. And basically the daughter and the mother got slutted out by the local gang members. I've literally seen it. So literally what happened was the mother and the daughter was left the house by the dad. He just left the house. The mother and the daughter both got slutted out by the local gang members, and the house became the neighborhood party house. People in there shooting. I was in there. I wasn't having sex or anything, but I saw it. I literally was like, this is crazy. That was what I was thinking in my mind, and I definitely wasn't having fun. I was just like, what the hell? Like, this chick, like, I went to grammar school with her. By this time she was in high school. She was high school age. I was in high school at the time as well. And I just literally seen it. I seen both the mom and the daughter getting slutted out. the house just basically became a whorehouse, basically a party house. And he was in there shooting dice, drinking, listening to music, smoking, doing all kinds of stuff. And they just basically took over the house because women can't stop men. I'll say most women cannot stop men, especially a group of men. Like local gangs is basically warlords. This is equivalent to a warlord. You can't stop this. Hard warlords are hard to stop. Look at Boko Haram. Boko Haram is still giving West Africa hell. Okay, they're fighting them. They're getting paid by the Europeans to basically create instability in West Africa, but they're there and they causing a lot of hell, and they have been causing a lot of hell for decades. And I mean, warlords are warlords. It doesn't matter if it's Compton, Chicago, Memphis, LA, anywhere. Warlords are warlords, and they will take over whatever. The house is easy. Okay, they took over. They'll take over entire blocks, neighborhoods. So yeah, I seen that. I seen that with my own two eyes. And then the father came back, he got back with the mom, and then everything was dispersed. Everything was good. Like the warlords, they were still there. They were still around. But they didn't come in that house. And the father wasn't no like hardcore masculine like ex-warlord or warlord. He's just a regular working dude. He just came back, and then basically he just dealt with his whore of a daughter and whore of a mom, whore of a wife rather, and just whatever. I mean, I saw it. I've seen that happen quite a few times. And the same dudes that was kind of involved with that, like I seen them. I'll be even more personal. I seen them try to do the same thing to my mother. That is definitely not weak, as far as try to like because what younger men do that know how to have a high sexual prowess, they know how to turn out women. Pimps know how to do that as well, and it's kind of like if you. What I saw these guys do, and I talked about these guys before, what I saw them do was they use sexual power to take over women to get whatever they want from them. Money, drive their car, sexual access, group sexual access, basically have sex with them, and then everybody in the gang have sex with them. I've seen them do that. Like I mean. And I seen one of them come to my house, and I knew what they were on, and I seen how my mom reacted. And my mom just was having these guys do some work in the bathroom, put some towel on the floor and shit, and like nah, that shit didn't work, because my mom was religious. She had some type of religious ground. She had some type of spiritual covering to her. She wasn't gonna let some neighborhood hoodlums, take, what I'm saying, just take her all the way out the game, like, and obviously I'm there, but at the same time, yeah, I seen these dudes, man. Like, I mean, these dudes now, they older, but they had past where they did a lot of shit that they not really proud about. What I'm saying? They older men that have some issues because they drunk too much, did too many drugs and everything like that, but and did a lot of things that they're not obviously not too proud about. But the whole point is, yeah, I mean, women cannot do anything about men, especially if women are very weak. And just like men could be weak for women, women can be basically weak for men. Most women that have children by men or have had relationships with men, and they basically a single mom, 9 times out of 10, if women are they don't like to be honest because they don't like to be vulnerable about their weaknesses, because their weaknesses are, basically, I think maybe women look at it like if they expose their weaknesses, then you can exploit them, or they're at the very least embarrassed by it. But if you really asked a woman if she was honest, she will tell you that her child's father really broke them down sexually. They were, for another reason or another, they met their sexual alpha, and they had no defenses against his sexual prowess, and they got they a lot of women they don't teach. One of the major things that they also don't teach in school, they don't teach finance, and they also don't teach proper sexual education. These young women don't understand male sexual power. They don't really understand that. Like they don't get the concept that a lot of times women, especially younger women, they look at men as maybe they're stupid, they're little stinky boys, little nasty men or whatever. That they're even a lot of women believe that they're smarter than men and stuff like that. And women get taken advantage of by men every single day. And the response after they get taken advantage of, or get treated a way that they don't seem fair or whatever, is they basically end up hating men. The result is they just end up hating men a lot of times. But the thing is instead of getting to that point, why do you for women, ask yourself this: do men fear other women no, do men fear other men and respect other men? Yes or no? That's the question I'll ask a woman. Do you see and do you look at other men fearing other men and respecting other men's boundaries? Yes or no? Yes, they do. So what makes you think, you being a woman, being weaker, that you're more powerful than other men that respect other men's boundaries and fear other men? Because when men disrespect other men, violence usually occurs. And when violence occurs, it could be no limit. It could go all the way to death. So it's like women a lot of times women don't, because they're not taught to respect men in a sense of not men's authority or power or anything like that. They're not taught to respect what men can do, what men are capable of, and the men's sexual power that they have over women. They're not taught to respect that. That sexual energy, that sexual power is what makes us men. That testosterone that we have flowing through our body, that is the essence of who we are. You don't have any control over that. And a lot of women are not taught that. The aunties, the grandmas, the mothers, they're not honest with their daughter and tell them, your father blew my back out. I couldn't stop coming if I wanted to. That's why you're here. That's the black pill that mothers do not tell their daughters about how they came into this world. And the mom and dad didn't get along, and the rest is history. He's where he is, and I'm where I'm at. Like, they don't tell their daughters this. And that's why a lot of women end up, they end up fucking around literally and finding out. So that's all I really have. I think this is a great video. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and hopefully you learned something from this. And you kind of get a sense of more or less who I am and what I know and who I know. Hopefully from this live stream.